Hello?
Lucy?
Hey!
G'day, mate. Has, yeah. Um, yeah, how you doing?
Um, really nice to hear from you, Dr. Jubb.
Yeah.
I got a comment on my YouTube channel the other day. The person was thanking me for posting your videos, and I just said,
Oh, yeah, amazing.
it's really my honor.
Yeah. Yeah, how amazing. Yeah, because, where anybody is, of course, like where you were, or anybody is with like the house where this was, or even the children, or where someone is, or where they will go even into the future moment. Let's say that something was just knowledgeable, and that knowledgeableness, really did cause a cascadedness of events not to have occurred, but that, it can have taken somebody something to have found things. Doesn't matter what it is. It's like, in physics, we can have found some things which are being hidden from everyone, but it's there. And coming back to like all these issues, sort of what that relates to, your being in society or anyone's being in society, it relates to your knowing who you are and what is the domiciledness of what something comes from. So if it comes from a man, or especially a woman, of course, it is not defined, right? And only that you could say is that a species of woman is certainly above all the things that a species of women created. So the things that can have been created could have been new life, which then that has property and things which is really about the enclosure of yourself and or rigidness of wherever that can have been. But then let's say that you and I or anyone, we're going through life, and that as you know who you are, as I is empty as this background canvas, and that you're coming from a domicileness of I or anyone else's, and that one can come to realise that in everything that you do, more that it is a possibility that you are functioning from this I versus from a persona, which a persona is really just something limited, not your full potential. Yeah. So yours and my full potential is as a man, and so that a species of women then creates all these other things like the Constitution or trust and things, and then the gubernatedness is underneath the Constitution, and then underneath the Constitution is gubernatedness, and underneath the gubernatedness, of course, you've got all the corpses and private corpses and things which are for profit and making a profit. So they're not actual government or judicial or administrative branches of things at all, but really a corpse of itself, and it's only of a limited capacity to function. But because a small secret has existed, of course, that you as a man, of course, created these things, and you're the one who owns everything around what's existing, and it can't exist that it's possible for you to give to things to be set off. And so, as a man, then the man can redeem his tax-deductible condition in the system, and then make the system work. But also, one can be learning how to more be a financial, a sovereign fiduciary. A sovereign fiduciary, yeah, your own sovereign fiduciary, and then one can learn what administrative law is, which really is to do with how something is set up. So that setup is an administrative function of a presentment, and in a proper presentment of any nature, there's a meeting of the minds, and where there wasn't a meeting of the minds of any nature, there can have not been too much of a good contract of anything. Yes. Can you hear me?
I can. I'm just glad I'm recording so I can go back and review. Like you said, it's some of this is out in the open, but it's not taught, so it's new to me, some of the language that you're using. But it's interesting, so I'm going to study.
Yes, okay, so first of all right, yeah, that's true. That's really so true. And so, for instance, if I said, of course, as you're just saying, 2 and 2 make 4, but when you read it, you could see TOO or TO plus TWO, and that then neither of them make 4. Only TWO plus TWO would equal 4 if you were adding it up. But if you just heard somebody say 2 plus 2 equals 4, you'd wonder how maybe, or it could not necessarily be being used in the same way, words. So common sense just is what, it's supposed to prevail, as you pointing out. Something has to make sense. So far, if somebody had said some things and it didn't make sense, like you're a man, I'm a man, and that's it, really. But if I said I was a person, I wouldn't be sane to have said that, because I would have pitched all the rights what I have by having said something insane, maybe. See? So you're not a person, nor a colour of man, like a human. Those are words which only relate to a person, you see. And a person is something that's fictional. That's like your Casper. But you do have a person, and that's with your property. And that's what could be injured. Where harm would have been more that would be related to more bodily conditions and things.
Yeah, I've been very, very strict as far as.
Can we hold just 1 second, because I'll just man something in the moment here. Just hold 1 sec, mate.
Sure.
I was quickly so I could see the order of things where we are. Amazing. For us, you there, mate?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. What would you do with this recording, Lukey? Yeah.
Well, I think you could do anything you want, but what I've jotted down so far was kind of a logo that has your fruit of life, and
okay. So if you get the fruit of life, the eclipse movement, which is really to do a lot. Well, the fruit of life, of course, is a longevity and things, and the fruit of life really is really the fruit, but the Eclipse is a movement which is really to do more with these things, what we've been talking about. You're a man, and you have a corpse. Your upper case is a corpse. It's fictional. That's not you. If you've been mistaken with that, that has to be corrected administratively. And then one can do a lot of things as you or anyone can correct things. Why? Well, because you have a right for presentment, don't you? And anybody, you ask for an apple and somebody gives you an apple, or if you ask for an apple and somebody gives you a bucket instead, they can give you what you asked for. And so a meeting of the minds where something is existing and nothing is presented until that's complete, but otherwise it would be presupposed, wouldn't it? And if you just trundle along with any presupposition, it means that by your acquiescence, you've not necessarily said anything about that, but then, well, somebody could have done something for their own sake and they never really considered how that kind of impacted you in a way that could have damaged, harmed, costed, or injured you in some way. And but the first thing somebody has where anything is your capacity to be able to say who you are and if you're functioning from what and who you know you are. And until such a point as this person somewhat learning, aren't they? But you could certainly, once you've learned that I'm a man, well, why would you want to be a person or anything else? You can't be a plain tiff because you will have reduced yourself down to a level of something else. But then if you're asking somebody that's living to be present to hear what you've said, you have to make a testimony somewhere, and that must be in your voice, and you're invoicing things. But if a cost has existed and it has to be put and it wasn't, well, how would anybody know some cost has to be? Otherwise, it's just a very frivolous thing, isn't it? But you have to have some sort of a claim like anybody else does, but most people do. But you've got to put it down in a manner that, how is it? Well, it would be certainly like a trespass, wouldn't it? Because it sort of starts with a bit of a trespass, and then a lot of things go on, including, like a breaching of enclosures and things. So those are two things which, no matter what, everything relates to that, doesn't it? And then a lot of things could be separate claims and claims not all connected together as one claim. That's ridiculous. How could that be? But every single thing is as a claim of itself, and it could be. And you or anybody else, you have to be in your own suit, just like anyone else. But where something is, if you're in your own suit, it means that you're in your court of record, and you're doing your court of record. If you're in your sovereign capacity, in your fiduciary capacity, one can be understanding a little more, what the meaning of this is. So, first it is, of course, we said, you're a man, so it can't be reduced to more, less. Anybody who said there was something else has reduced themselves, haven't they? And it's not from their polypotency at all. But saying as a man, all that is existing, that everything you created or man did that for him to be the beneficiary of this all. But if somebody reduced themselves on a piece of paper somewhere to abrogated their rights, and has said that it looked like a piece of paper that somebody was dead versus living, there's a matter that one has to be correcting with who you're dealing with in any incident, you see? And so somebody can have acted in the capacity of a fiduciary by, making a money order and giving that, and having the proper paperwork for that to have gone forward. So just, you've had that delivered to the Secretary of the Treasury, and you've made necessary arrangements for all things so that something is paid for, and you get a rebate because of it. Otherwise, somebody else will have got that. And these are things which somebody should start to understand a little bit, because you could understand a bit about something where someone is. But the fact is that you can have never surrendered any of your unalienable rights, and you have a right to be in the private, in your own being, and you don't have to have reduced yourself to some fictional entity. And as a fictional entity, anyway, one could have never really sued, because you can't necessarily have any standing, because you're not coming into your own living being to make any actual testimony. And And so no testimony ever was, and a lot of things have gone on for everyone, but nothing was recorded as any testimony anybody ever did, you see. So understanding the judicial process more and understanding how common law gives you a capacity, having a common law court of record, your own common law court of record, so as you're using your peers as you go along in any process. And so you are applying this to be cleared up of things, because you didn't agree for anybody to convert anything into a commercial condition or a privilege, because you're a living being and only a corpse could be under commerce or privilege, you see. Just making sense to you?
It feels empowering what you're telling me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so it should be someone can be understanding more, but that you like anyone can go underneath the law that you choose, and you could be going under a flag, of something which is where one of the people, which you are as a man or anyone listening is as a woman, you're the one who owns everything as a secure party creditor, and it's your account that you need to become aware more of and to be able to be a financial fiduciary in a sovereign capacity of assisting to help the IRS and assisting to help things where they are versus being belligerent and not knowing what to do. But where somebody most would have no standing to have any claim because they're only in a fictional state. So, one alleges, of course, some personal injury, and that has to be particularised, that's concrete. But that's what I'm talking about, a claim. But somebody could have a claim, but you've got to give notice to people and things. You've got to do what you can to debate the matter or ask people to show cause of another claim. And then any paperwork of existence is going to be sent back, because a lot of things is going on there, but you're first letting anybody know that some mistake has been made, and you're making your own testimony in a matter of a hearing in a paper that's written to say such, which is called a truth requirement and abatement to show a cause, and you can be putting giving some of your money and learning how to do that from your trust, from the estate that you're critical of, and you can be giving them some money and making them responsible as your financial, as your fiduciary, as a administrator of the trust, and you have a right to make who's there as the other administrators and administrators as the trustee of the matter to make sure things are done. So one can learn all about what this is, and you can learn about 1099 IOD and 1040B voucher and 1096 and another form which allows you to form 56 to appoint someone as your fiduciary who you're dealing with, so that you're giving them the capacity to be able to set something off, and you're learning how to do this. So, a fictional entity cannot deny you as a man who's one of the people alive to things which is only of a privilege or some duty. But that you have a right where a fiction doesn't, but only has a right and a duty and has a privilege, and that you would never have reduced whatever you have down to only a privilege, which wouldn't be right. But everything that's sort of under constitutional can't be, that's constitutional, it's constitutional, of course, can't be converted into a crime. And so a police state often is accepted because somebody cannot be functioning to fulfill the role of what they can. Someone else has to do that for others, and so then some processes going on where most can be lay hidden more for most not to know that any judgment, wherever it was, is of void ab initio, because it's your wish that anything could be dismissed or cleared away because you've retained a right, to pursue a claim, but you've just rebutted the fact that you've seen anything which you haven't. But then you're honourably saying that you're innocent or that you're not guilty, where something is in your own being, but then you're doing what you can to be an honourableness by forwarding what is necessary, because that's an easy thing for you to do rather than being put to say that some dishonour was that you wouldn't pay for whatever it was where you could, which is a tax rebate to your own self. So where somebody doesn't do this part of it, they cannot be the full fiduciary because they're not looking at it as a tax rebate for themselves, which they would get. So, but you or anybody sort of has got to get this sort of a meeting of the minds, and you'd be remembering what we're talking about, which is, as a man or as a woman, you're sort of one of the people, and it's you're not to pay anything except a lawful debt, yet to ensure the uniform value, of what's coined and what's in a current. And you've got a responsibility, just as everybody else does, to make sure that something goes proper. That is what you could be observed to see for your own right and everyone else's. So it's a fact that it's a public policy that every obligation would be discharged, and so payment of any debt that you do or anyone else does that isn't received, which it's supposed to be, is going against public policy. Yeah. So any debt where anything has existed is a legal tender condition for you to rebate for, because Public Law 1 or the House Joint Resolution 192 that happened in 1932, and other things that have gone on since. So as you're the executor of your affair where you are a general guardian, you have a right to be able to be an honour and to give things. Though your BC is yours, somebody can have given that to the Secretary of the Treasury and Social Security number and done an A4V with this, so that your Social Security account could be always zeroed out. But if somebody does not do any paperwork a bit to keep that up, which is you do, and it's a simple thing to do, it's that you have a bank account which is yours is the good creditor of, and it has a routing number that's open and available to process, various items and everything that come along to you. And so a lot of people could just do some part of this, and that's just good enough, because what you've done is to say that you're a man and you're not a corpse. And you're understanding more that a lot of things that goes on is only could be recorded as minutes, but not as an actual record, as a legal record. So a minute is not a legal record, but a lot of things can be put into someone's private folder to deal with for you, and by accommodation of your name, really making out like a bandit or did, and then even suckered and got your tax credit of what it was the cost of everything, because someone didn't do the final paperwork or things and learn about what they could do to have the final paperwork and everything done. But it's some simple things that somebody can do as they go forward where they are, and if you cannot get any party that you're looking at to stand in front of you, then it isn't real. So a rock or a bird or something can't launch a lawsuit and anything which is in a fictional state isn't considered to be real, and a party in interest versus a party only of interest. And so there's nothing is on the other side. Living, it means you're the only living being there. You've used your court as your court of record as you set things up for yourself, and then you're your own postmaster. And so someone really has to learn how to make a claim, you see, and a lot of these people, where everything or anything is, never brought anyone else into their living state, so how could they make a claim of someone's fiction? It would be that they wouldn't be understanding of actually the law to do that, because you can only do that if you've actually got somebody living there. You can only join life with life. And somebody doesn't know these things somewhere there, some more sort of fact could throw something out because it's just not taken care of as could be. But if somebody gets a greater, deeper understanding of everything, what you're doing is putting things forward so that fact and law isn't of any dispute and becomes non-controvertible, so that you're making sure that your body is with your will, and not that your body can have been taken against your will in some way, or and that there wasn't any valid lawful condition in the way something took place. But it all starts, of course, as I said, with the presentment, because most have gone past that, and after you've gone past that, you've not dealt with what's supposed to be, because you're supposed to know who, and on the other side, they're supposed to know who. So who is done, and then you go on to what. But who and what can often not be, or just presuppose that that's existing, and that's where administratively it's possible for someone to clear things up more. Is this making sense, Lukey?
Yeah, I gotta be honest, sometimes I translate these things in my own head, and I'm thinking that, this contract, this law is actually having to do with
common sense. You've got to just make common sense by understanding the process more, or anyone else, because it's a simple conditioning of coming to something which is simple. But you or I or anyone living could use language which somebody couldn't as a fiction, because a fiction can't abate, and a fiction can't sort of really ask a living being to show cause. Only a living being can ask someone to abate something or show cause. What words or anyone does on their actions of feeling, smelling, seeing is more your livingness, which a fiction can't do. And so lots of things are just done with stamps, not really signed properly, and people can have stamps, and things are not being addressed at all properly either, and lots of mistakes can have been made, and that, in a manner of speaking, somebody can be given a notice to abate, because the government really is a fictional party, basically. Yeah. Did you get that, mate?
I wrote some of it down. I know I've made a lot of mistakes, but I'm just gonna keep doing my best to become a success, and hopefully, following your footsteps.
Well, anything that they could have a piece of paper, but they could be returned off the paper with a notice of mistake. And the actions that Lord, that one can use and apply to abate whatever was sent to you, that was only done in all caps, but one could pay for everything where it was by your getting the paperwork sorted out, so that it shows you to be the principal in the actions that took place. And everything that's an action can't be where anything dead is, because your own livingness is, because action is utterly dead without what can commence any action, and that's your livingness, you see. So you you as you're living this can impeach whatever is the writ that says some declaration that the court has. And then you're commencing things in another way by doing this. See?
Right.
Like yourself could be reduced to a piece of paper somewhere or something, or a name. And so in the beginnerness, you're identifying who you are, and you're getting a contractedness more about this, and it's all more of a declaration of the status of as you're identifying information to who is out there as an agent, maybe, typically, yeah? So, yeah, and that you can't be accused of involuntary servitude. You can't be accused of involuntary servitude, Lukey.
Okay.
And anyway, corpses are only applied actually just to collect money, that's all. And the owners, the ones as a man or woman that you could actually hold liable for something, if any injury was, or to get something done more. But otherwise, if you're just talking to a Casper, that's going to be a bit insane because you're only talking to a fiction. Yeah. So one has to understand a little more about this administrative process, that's all. Because the fiction is really of limited liability. You can feel, hear and see, as we were saying. What your life is, as no harm, injury, cost or damage was, no crime was whatsoever. And some presupposition was existing that something was, perhaps, but wasn't. And there are laws are written in a shall and a will, which is a future, meaning if some injury, cost, harm or damage was, well then something was written, but because nothing was, it would be not a true claim for someone to have gone forward and not been the one who saw this. So in any situation, you've got various tax forms and things that who's prosecuting you or anyone else, they have to have those because some claim has existed for them to be able to receive money from your account because they're saying you're a bad trustee of the matter of what they have where it's in front of them. But if it was that you gave a 1099 OID and gave proper paperwork and things and you paid for the debt and sorted it out, otherwise, a lot of things are going on, but that somebody would have to do that for themselves if that was an error they made, and you could have them just do that. But then if you had them do that, you wouldn't know if anything was dipped into your account, which it would be, and then you're not the one who's getting any rebate as a tax rebate for that or participating in the system properly. So, every moment of time it's possible for someone to learn what the proper tax forms and things are, so that things can be done more so that you're actually really the financial fiduciary. And so then, one can jump into their own suit because it's not a good thing that somebody could be just in someone else's suit, because if you could do this as you can in someone else's suit, which you can, however, then if there was a claim needed past the point of it, because you or anyone else wants to give notice of something existing, and that could be done just to anybody actually, and not just a court, or it could be someone who says or is holding a note or holding a debt or something, who's there if they were an officer, certainly under oath. That can be equivalent to injury that they just reduced you to only be a corpse. So a corporal, meaning dead speak. Yeah.
Okay. I know I can have more energy to apply to these things. What I have been doing is working my way towards fasting more. I've been on strict live food for years now, but I feel like the next step to free up some of this energy is just to stop eating, maybe just liquid.
Okay. Well, it's an amazing thing at first. Liquid consumption and food consumption relates a lot to what reduced to be just of a maximum of a minimum of inner chatter, and how relaxed someone is in life and what their response is to things. And these are things which really somebody should really pay attention to, because, if they did this, then they wouldn't have to be concerned about anything, because eating during the day is a disaster, because it's not going to get the intestine have any rest. And these are all behavioural things. And so, what causes somebody to do all sorts of nibbledness through the day, often a lot, is, because somebody's getting a reward. And so it's just an operant conditioning, which, you or anybody could look at that video that's done on eclipsenow.net. But the biggest thing is that behavioural things could be going on and causing a person to overeat and things, yeah. And then other things which could really be to do with having overbreathed. So who has a lot of dialogue or extraneous is going to breathe a lot more. Who's reduced a lot of it is going to be a lot less, and they're going to live a longer life. So internal condition, like for somebody to be more congruent and be able to pace and lead and have rapport and things where they are, they're going to have better relations and better conditioning. Yeah? So urine snorting through the nose to open up all passages, and nose breathing through sleep forever, to get rid of mouth breathing and to get rid of all congestedness of the nose, because once any small amount of overbreath it slowly causes more postnasal area other than to be opened up, you see. And so then one's voice can be much more not resonant from the lower and medial and upper chambers which are existing in the sound. Someone really should be looking at what sort of is there that's actually caused them to have some benefit, They shouldn't be in their own self robbing some condition like Peter to pay Paul, and then you'd know that whatever that was there is the benefit. Well, that all depends on Paul then, what's going on there. Somebody's robbing Peter to pay Paul in themselves, you see. So Paul is the one that actually it depends upon, because, certainly Rob's just being robbed. Peter's being robbed. And then if Paul's being paid, Paul's the one who actually is the benefitedness of what's going on there. So if you could say that it depends upon Paul, really, that's going on, in one's own self. Yeah. But if somebody's reduced everything to lightly as they can, and your mind, like anyone else's, could just, transgress to be more into deeper areas that relate to the things in which you're able to be more, remain in the moment, more in balance, and certainly you've got like good class captain skills and things lately.
Thank you.
So, being present is what one should be, and one isn't obliged to do anything. One doesn't have to have given any right away where one is, or go along with anything that maybe not necessarily proper presupposition, but to get somewhere, somebody might need to be able to pace and lead and learn to have rapport. You see, because of your or my ability to have discovered the things which is there. But many times there's a lot of things to be discovered, isn't there? And so how could somebody be making decisions as if those things have already been discovered, yeah? Does that make sense?
That one, kinda.
Well, some things actually where someone is have to be discovered to be able to make a statement. Often many things need to be discovered more, and as then discovered as possible for someone to be able to have reasonable judgment, and it's coming from common sense, you see. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have events coming up that I'll be promoting, and I take certain supplements to be able to participate at the level that is,
exactly.
normal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that's right. Well, optimal performance, let me see. I'll just put this down off my ear. Optimal performance. One of the things that actually really is fantastic for optimal performance is through your brain, and you've got lymph channels, which are really small and fine, and fluid's got to flow through those. So cerebral fluid has to flow through those. So it only opens up at night when you sleep, and most people's brain's got to be able to cleanse itself. And N-acetyl neurominic acid, which is the primary substance in life hydrate, reduces the surface tension on the plasma and causes more nutrients to be carried and absorbed by cells. And this is a very vital substance that you're supposed to have proper brain function, which is one of the major substances in breast milk and things. If we're talking about being able to have N-acetyl neurominic acid, which you would if you've got proper good brain gland function, which most people don't, but you'd have to produce a certain amount of that every day to be able to make sure the blood is remains soft and the voice and mouth is remained moist. So various things can truly be quite remarkable, have a remarkable effect. The gut is really impacted a lot by the brain is impacted by the gut. If you get rid of all the mucus and plaque from the gut, the brain functions a lot better. Yeah. So there's various things that you could get, but evacuatives are better. We have a great product called Evacuative, which used to be in a formula as it is in Australia, which people can get from Linda. Otherwise, there is also another formula which I've produced, which is really like a concentrate of the element in essence, pure, and put on a syringe of ceramide so it can cross over the mucous membrane to get into the cells and be transported and everything. Yeah. So another one which I really always am thinking about is where somebody wants an ergogenic aid, meaning you want something to assist you to get work more done efficiently and have the elements necessary to get work done properly. It's what ergogenic aid. And the wild-type formula that we have, which also is done in a similar way, we've got a formula today which is like more in a nutraceutical format of that, and then we have the other formula too, which is just the herb of it, and that's the Walzheim's formula. So for enhancing performance, what anybody can do is energy is adenosine triphosphate, and then when it gets spent, it comes to be called adenosine diphosphate. And when it becomes to be adenosine diphosphate, it can be reactivated again, that you've got substance like life hydrate, which has got a lot of spare north negative to give you energy. Yeah, so it might be of an interest, Ricky, for us at some point to talk more, perhaps if that's interesting, about nutrients and stuff. Anyway, I'll get off the phone now, or if we can be complete with perhaps this. It'd be nice if people could hear some things, which is our discussion a little bit. So we've really been talking more about the administration of who I is in relation to everything that you have around yourself and learning more about this. And there's a lot to that. And yeah, so anyway, if you love, it's possible to connect back in the next moment as soon as you'd love to. We can do part 2, part 3, or if you love, there's some questions that you have about what we've been talking about.
I would love that. Thank you, mate. I'm gonna clip this and tag you.
Yeah. So we'll do part 2 coming up in a second as you feel drawn to, just whenever. And if you feel like we'd like to be having a bit of a focus on, as you thought, because you've got a lot of people listening and they're interested in learning more about how to have more vitality, what can they do to assist themselves, and what might be some of the things they could truly do that can improve everything better. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
Love you, Vicky.
I love you too, mate. Thank you.
All right.
I talk to you soon. Okay, bye.